Hi, it's Kathy McGuinness again. Lucy's asked me to talk to my assessment toolbox as a peer-to-peer assessment for the KPIs for the quality learning and teaching for the faculty. So what we've done is that we set up a peer assessment as part of a UImagine project, and in that they followed on from having an essay, so that provided the evidence-based for choosing a topic of their choice that they then had to do a health education package for. So we broke the health education package into two parts. So the first part was the peer assessment. So if we have a look in the peer assessment, you can see that we've given an overview. We have a link to the discussion forum where they can ask their specific questions. We did devise a health education session planner for them that they all had to use as part of their assessment, and they were also asked, so we actually set it all up. We devised it ourselves, so there was with Marianne Moser, myself and Jed Burke, and then we showed the team when we were finished compiling it. So we've set it up, and we've also put in there some prompts for what they should be including in it. So that has worked quite well, and it made them continue on after the essay, not leave things to the last minute as well. So that's always a good thing, which is the other part. So we wanted them to engage. We also had them do 5 evaluation questions based on their aims and outcomes. So again, we did a cheat sheet on how to write it and talked about closed and open-ended questions. And then we included information. So we're recording on how to do it. So there were 3 parts to it. So they had to submit their first part, and then that was randomly assigned to students. So each student evaluated 2 other students' peer, and we have a clear marking criteria. So that was the first step, is that they had to submit their lesson plan and their evaluation questions. The second part of it is that they then went in and they had 2 randomly assigned. Some of them only had 1, some of them only 1 had none, I think. Unfortunately, there were a few problems with the actual tool itself, and we weren't able to leave it open for late submissions. We weren't able to take people out that hadn't submitted. We weren't able to reallocate them, more people to mark them. It left some of the staff in, so there have been some issues. The premise behind it was really good though. The feedback from the students is that they quite enjoyed doing it, but the tool itself had a lot of limitations we discovered when we started to use it. So then we did a step-by-step for how they actually evaluated it, and then the third step was actually seeing the results and the comments. So the students were asked to do comments as well. So that was really important that they all did that. Some students did that really well, and some students didn't do it really well. So what I might be able to do, if I go in, I can show you how that actually works. So if we come down, we go into the course tools and the self-peer assessment. So it takes a little while, so I'm just going to show you how they submitted. So this just puts them all in alphabetical order. There was no easy way when I had to check a submission or something like that. So we'll pick the first one, it'll be easy, and we just have a look, and it shows me that she submitted the health session planner. It's quite a slow system, so you can see that she's got the template there that we provided. So that's all good. And then if we go backwards, sorry, hit the wrong button. So if we come backwards, then we can then look in who evaluated her. And within the tool we put in the marking criteria that they were to evaluate each other on. So that worked out really well. So that was in the subject outline as well. It is quite slow with connecting and getting through the different pages. And the dates were clearly shown there for them. So the first part had to be done by the 20th, and then we gave them until the 29th to peer review each other's, and then the results and the comments were available on the 30th. So the tool did it itself, it just did the random allocation, but I said there were issues with students that hadn't submitted. We couldn't allow any late submissions that didn't have that functionality, I suppose is the word. And then because it wouldn't let us put in half marks, we found that a problem as well. And we had to change the marking, so it was 2, 1 and a 0, not a 1, a half and a 0. And then we couldn't work out how to get it to talk to Grade Centre, so I physically had to go in and put all the marks in manually. So this is the 2 students that were assigned to Christy, for instance, and so based on the evaluation, the criteria, she did that, but she hasn't put any comments. They were supposed to put the comments in, so that was a downfall I found with students. They didn't always give that feedback that we had actually asked for, which is a real shame, because they all I'm going to look at a different one to see if we can see. It's very slow, and then you have to come back to look at the results. So the students do a similar thing. They can go into their view and they see the results. So it was a really good way to engage the students in the content for the subject, in the learning process of developing the health education package, but also in giving that constructive feedback. So this then tells me what they got out of 20 and how many evaluations they were allocated. So as I said, there were some that didn't submit or only had one, so this is ticked as in progress. There were students that didn't submit at all and haven't submitted anything, so they got 0 obviously. It was a very simple marking rubric, and it matched completely with the headings in the lesson plan. So if for some reason they didn't use that lesson plan, didn't use the template, then they may not have got full marks, and some of them also didn't give a lot of detail. So that's how some of the marking was done, I suppose, by their peers. It was a very quick marking system. It took probably only 5 minutes to do it, 10 at the most, and it was a very quick clicker button, and you just had to keep clicking the button to get through the 10 criteria to evaluate. I'm just trying to go back to find one so you can see some of the comments. So I found it, as I said, if it had worked properly, if the functionality was there for us to adjust things as we went along, once we realised there were some students who didn't have enough to evaluate or hadn't submitted, it didn't tell them, like East, that they had submitted. It didn't tell them if the file didn't upload properly or didn't open. They were things I discovered when the students contacted me or as I was going through checking, so I did have to check every step of the way because there were issues. If they can fix that functionality, then I think it would be a very good tool to use, and certainly the students are reflecting on that as part of their health education package, so I'll be very interested to read what they're starting to say about it. So that one didn't have anybody either, unfortunately. I'm not doing real well here with finding somebody that had evaluation. I think I've just hit the same one again. So yeah, it does take a while, and certainly as you go through alphabetically, there was no easy way I could just put a surname and it took me straight to that student. I had to do this every time I had to check students or they were concerned about something. But overall, it has limited functionality depending on what you want to do with it, and this is the only time I've ever actually done it, so I can't talk to how it would work with a different assessment or the way it was set up.